Okay, thank you, Pamela, for being here. Hi, everybody. My name's Toree. I'm the host of the Grass and Roots podcast. This podcast focuses on grassroots efforts and community-driven change happening across Louisiana. I'm so excited to have you on, Pamela. Pamela is the founder of God's Unchanging Hands Feeding Ministry, which is an organization dedicated to combating hunger and empowering communities. She's also been a driving force behind the Covington Community Garden, and her commitment to helping those in need and her unwavering dedication to building strong, compassionate communities is truly inspiring, and I'm so excited to dive into this conversation. Pam, how are you today?
Doing just fine. And you?
I'm good. I'm good. So I'm curious, starting God's Unchanging Hands Feeding Ministry clearly has been a labor of love for you. Can you share what initially inspired you to dive into this work and dedicate yourself to helping those facing food insecurity in your community?
Yes. What drove me to start this ministry was the the disparity in the communities, where um there with the high prices of food now, and then with the hiking of rent and a lot of things that people are facing here in these communities. And no one really knows what goes on in the community unless you're in the communities. You have to be boots on the ground and actually talking with the residents to find out the things that are going on. Well, um, when I before I had started, I was going through a lot, dealing with housing authority issues, where they had used my water to pressure wash the apartment buildings. And then I ended up getting evicted because I questioned it. And no authority, no community leaders would address it. And I was part of the resident advisory group.
Mhm.
And that I was told that they don't get paid to listen to the complaints, but they're the people that are supposed to be there to
Wow,
help
yeah.
people. So I have five
Mm-hmm.
kids. I have 5 kids, and I'm trying to raise them. And here I am going through all of this, and I lost everything within 24 hours because I questioned. So I said to myself, once I raise my children and I am able to get out here to do things, I was going to make moves. And that was to start with the housing. And then God put in my spirit about the food supply, to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
what I did was there were like 6 raised beds when we first started. And it was a Cub Scout project. But the thing was, there was no consistency. So in the communities, without consistency, people are going to think that they're just doing it for show or not trying to help or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept going with it. And then
Mm-hmm.
we started off with 6 raised beds. Then we went to 100 and something pots after that. And so I started reaching out to the community for the children to learn, because that's something we got to get our kids out of the TVs and the phones and different activities that's getting them in
Mm-hmm.
trouble, or they're not understanding themselves or life, or so we started dealing with the youth, the young girls that were going through so much. They didn't understand who they are. So it's called Grow Your Crown Garden Project. So with this, it started off just with colored girls. So, but then we know that there's a mixture of people in the communities. We have our Mexicans, we have our Indians, and we have just different cultures. And so we
Yeah.
decided to take that and include everyone in it. And
Mm-hmm.
what the kids learned was about themselves, because we have a program in it called Getting to Know You. Because a lot of kids are lost. They're not
Mm-hmm.
really known. They're helping their parents take care of their younger sister and brother. They're not able to get out to learn what it is that they need to learn as teenagers. Because when we were growing up, we were able to go to skating rinks and go do different things that we can get involved in. But these days, these kids are in a devastation state on survival.
Mhm.
So when the pandemic came is when a lot of things really started changing. Um, we were started off feeding 300 people, and when the pandemic came, we were feeding 1,200 people a
Wow.
week. 1,200
Wow.
a week. And these were people that were in their homes, and I was brave enough to get out here and start the ministry. But at that time, it wasn't licensed. It was not a
Mhm.
501c. I was just out here just doing things. We started with the Laranja and ham and flooding. And when I
Mhm.
seen the devastation there, that gave me the okay to go ahead and start. And so I went on and got my 501c3, and since then we get with different organizations that provide services for our communities so that we can um, help these families out. We're not trying to handicap them, or we're trying to make them
Mhm.
self-sufficient, self-sustained, to learn how to get out here and do this on your own, or we could do it as a community, um, especially dealing with our kids. Because if we give our kids new ideas to work with, they get excited. We don't want them to get bored, because that's the one thing that they are, is bored. And when you're handing them a phone or putting them in front of the TV because you don't want to hear your kids fussing or whatever, with this, the parents come in also, and it's a bonding type of
Mhm.
program that helps the families, not only the families, but the children, and then people surrounding next door. So then now everyone's like catching on to it now, and everybody's like, we should have been doing this a long time ago. But when you have leaders that are not putting that effort in to show the community that this is what we can do together, they're misleading. So then your community fails because there's no one working it. So I just took it upon myself, and I jumped out there, and it worked. It
Yeah.
literally worked. And now we've partnered up with different organizations like NAACP. We have the ad
Mhm.
hoc group. We have working with some of the city officials. We're working with the residents. We're working with the children, and they see a difference. That's the
Mhm.
thing. They see a difference because the way that the administration is now, a lot of people are going to face a lot of devastation. So, with God's Unchanging Hands Feeding Ministry, we're going to show them that you don't have to live in that devastation. You can work towards whatever projects you need to work towards. And by the time that administration is over, you won't even think about what is happening because now you done reached the next level, and now everybody's working together. I really enjoy what I do because if I had not never experienced any of this, I wouldn't know how to come out here with this. You know.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. There's so much you said that I want to touch on, but I just love that you focus on community empowerment and people being able to just uplift each other and themselves. And it's not, like you said, a handicapping thing. It's, teaching people how to sustain themselves. I think that's so important. And like you
Hmm.
said, it does connect people too, taking care of plants, other people, feeding people, like there, you kind of create community. I think
Hmm.
that's so great. But you talked about a little bit the leadership part of the conversation of elected officials, people, working at like the housing authority, the elected people just not doing their job, I guess, to help residents like they should be. And I just wonder how is that a part of the conversation? Do you talk at all about your community members running for office or that being something that's potential? Like, how do you see that changing also? Or how do you talk about that in community?
Well, in our NAACP meeting, we have been talking about reaching out to the youth
Mhm.
to teach them and educate them on the importance of our democracy.
Mhm.
And so there are some kids that run for like class president,
Mhm.
and all that to get into it. So we back them
Mhm.
up. We work
Mhm.
with them. We give them the education. We empower them. We actually give them encouragement. and then they feel good about it. They can stand up and talk.
Right.
They're not afraid. Because a lot of times in school they have that peer pressure thing where
Mhm.
the kids tease you because you're doing this and not hanging with them because they could be doing something wrong. But you never know what those type of children are going through. But the ones
Yeah.
that are really struggling, they want a change. They want
Mhm.
unity. They want to be able to be part of their community. And so
Mhm.
with the NAACP, we're going to start working with the kids because we just had this meeting. We're going to start working with the kids so that we can get them into political issues to they can make the change. They can,
Yeah.
if we don't depend on our kids are our future. They're our future.
Mhm.
And if we don't start getting with our kids now, what is the outcome of what our kids are going to be? You already see what they're turning into. Well,
Mm.
some of them. I'm not saying all, some of them. But look at they're having records, police records. They're having murder charges. They're out
Mhm.
here shooting. They're with gangs. It's crazy. It's crazy. But that's because if a parent doesn't have enough time to spend with the kids to educate them on their next step in life, then the streets teach them.
Mm.
So we have to come together as a community, as adults, in a
Mhm.
community to start teaching our kids. I don't care if it's not your child, if it's the next door neighbor's child. Let's grab these kids. Let's love on them. Let's show them that
Mhm.
they're capable and that they're able to do things. I think it's a great
Mhm.
thing to get with these kids and start because they're already introduced to a whole lot that's negative
Mhm.
in their lives. So we're trying to bring positivity into their lives. And so far, it's been working pretty good. It's been working pretty good.
Mhm.
It's growing, that's for sure. That's for sure. Um, we still have a lot of work to do. This is just the beginning of it.
Mhm.
Um, I've been working with the kids for 10 years now,
Mhm.
on developing, their mind on what can help them in the future,
Mhm.
not looking at what is going on with them because sometimes they fall by the wayside because they're dealing with different issues at home. Either they've had a parent that has passed or they had the molestation. That's a
Mhm.
big thing over here. Well,
Mhm.
in the world, period. And uh, runaway children, we gotta meet them in the middle because our young kids do have a mind and they have brilliant minds. So why not give them the ability to show off for themselves, to show that they could go further in life than what is being placed in front of them. I hope I answered the question.
You
So,
did. Yeah, 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 you did. You did. Yeah, okay, that's great. I want to go way back, something you said in the beginning about your ministry and then the garden.
mhm,
How you said you fed during the pandemic 1,200 people. I want to
mhm.
know what does that feeding process look like? Is it, yeah, just explain that process to me. What does it look like to go out into community and help feed people? What does that kind of look like for you?
Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's sad
Mm-hmm.
because of
Mm-hmm.
the condition of some of the families.
Mm-hmm.
Some families could be living with tarp over their homes and in their homes they don't have any running water or run electricity, ceilings caving in, and they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to do their best. I mean, they're working, but
Yeah.
rent has went up so high, and then when the pandemic came, people were out of work. They couldn't get
Mm-hmm.
any money, especially if they're not on food stamps or, any type of government assistance. And then the way that society is in some ways, some people are looking out for their family
Mhm.
and not their neighbor.
Sure.
And so when something happens to their neighbor, then they're like, well, why couldn't someone come and help when you could have been the one to help them? But
Mm-hmm.
and then some of the residents would actually uh get in the neighborhood and they'll call and say these are how many number of plates that we need. We had people that
Mhm.
volunteered to come in and help deliver. We had people that came in and volunteered to help prep the foods. Then, do a count of how many and where is going where. And
Mhm.
it's beautiful how the community comes together when the community is trying to build together.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, it was not an easy process to get it together. But
Mhm.
in the summertime, we do a thing with all the kids, teenage children that are looking
Mhm.
for community service hours because they could be applying for college or something like that. They'll come in and they'll show me some new techniques, and we
Right.
apply it. We apply it because it's so beautiful to see kids that are already privileged children,
Mhm.
okay,
Mhm.
versus the ones that are underprivileged that don't get a chance to experience this.
Mm.
So I said, we do use the privileged kids, which they do give us a lot of insights because their families are put together to establish their children.
Mm.
In the poorer neighborhoods, it's survival.
Sure.
It's a big difference.
Yep.
It's survival. And so
Mhm.
with God's Unchanging Hands feeding ministry, we give the kids that opportunity
Mhm.
to to see the privilege that they can have. And I bring it to them. If you're getting ready to go to college, come do the community hours. But it's something that the poor neighborhoods knew nothing about. I didn't know anything
Mm.
about it until maybe 4 or 5 years ago that
Right.
we can help our less fortunate children this way. But you have a lot of, like I said, community leaders and people that support these community leaders that don't look at the kids that are not receiving. They look at the
Right.
kids that already have. And we
Mhm.
don't want to go that route. We want to get in the neighborhoods where people don't know their way out. And maybe we
Yeah.
can help them on a little pathway to show them that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that you can self-efficient and self-sustain yourself without actually living off of government assistance. And
Sure.
that's another thing that we need to be focused on, are the ones that are living in government assistance that are, you know, um, getting put out of their home,
Mhm.
getting everything away from them. But they were never educated
Yeah.
on how to survive. So that's where I come in because of the experience that I had with going through what I went through to be able to show other people that there's a better way. It's hard work.
Mhm.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is work,
Mhm.
but it's worth it in the end. It's definitely
Mhm.
worth it in the end. I love it.
Yeah. Uh-huh. That's so special. Even just I'm thinking while you're talking, like offering underprivileged youth and families the ability, just offering them community too. Because like you said, when you're in survival, that's not what you're thinking about. You're thinking about yourself, your kids,
Mhm.
your own family. You almost don't even feel like you have the time to talk to your
Mhm.
neighbors or talk to whoever. So I think that that's really special to offer even just that community that, it's almost intentional that we don't have that. It's better for corporations that we don't talk to each other. It's better for the government that we don't talk to each other. So it's
Yeah.
nice that we have to offer that to every person, even if you're in this survival place.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. Okay. So I also want to hear I kind of want to hear if there's anything surprising or just interesting about your growth with your work in communities. You've been doing this for a long time. What has kind of come up in, how fast you've grown? Because I feel like you said, it's growing and it's continuing. Has there been anything interesting that you've realized while doing this work and seeing the growth?
I'm totally surprised. I'm shocked.
Yeah.
I am. I am through the grace of God. That's the only thing I can say because I've
Hmm.
had to deal with city officials, local, leaders that came in and wanted to take away what I started. And they were working with me at first, but then because election time came through, they took everything from me and
Hmm.
left me standing there high and dry on my own project, you know. And I was like, oh, wow. I really went through a serious depression behind that.
Mhm.
Then I started having medical issues. But once that had passed, I came back even more fierce than what I was. And so I was able to regain all of that back and not even bothering them, let them have it, you know.
Mhm.
But if people
Mhm.
would think about what position they put people in by helping, is not a good feeling. And I don't know how they can sleep. I really don't.
Yeah.
I really don't. But because my faith is strong, I know that God is going to carry me. So I don't
Mhm.
have no fear anymore. I'm out there and I'm
Yeah.
ready. But that's the biggest thing. That was the biggest thing that I had to face because I was really thinking I was doing something good. But
Mhm. Right.
when people are looking for uh, recognition, they don't care who they hurt. So
Mhm.
I've learned to not put my feelings on my shoulder and
Sure.
carry it with me. I just get out here and I do whatever's in my spirit to do. I get out here and do it. And it's a great thing. Because now more and more people, like I said, in the community are starting to come together and say, well, look, we need to get over here because this is where our food supply is going to be. This is where
Mhm.
we can help other people. This is where we could work in our community and have a say so, you
Mhm.
know? Like, I
Mhm.
really work here. This is what we built here. And it's not me, it's we, it's us that are
Mhm.
working together.
Yeah.
On them. We have two more gardens that are going to be going up this year, and
Great.
that is going to be the one where the community puts together. The
Yeah.
first one I put together, but
Right.
the next one, the community will have the insight on how to develop this garden, what we're going to plant, how we're going to work it, where's the teamwork. Are we going to be, they got the volunteer, you signing up for volunteer work, just community coming together. This is so important.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
unity, the working together, the eating together. We don't do that anymore. We don't even
Yeah.
sit at the same table and eat anymore.
Mhm.
And we don't even
Mhm.
good night anymore. We don't do any of this. The kids do what they want to do. But once they've seen how hard they've worked to develop something, it gives them a
Mhm.
better appreciation for their community.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm so happy you've been my first guest on the podcast because what you're saying is why I even want to do this project. It's like you said, we just all have to be more intentional about talking to each other, collaborating with one another, talking, learning from one another. It's so, so important. So I'm just so glad you're touching on everything that I would want to touch on for this. So that's great. Thank you for that. I want to hear a little bit more about we're in Louisiana and I want to know if there's anything maybe that you think is I don't know interesting or different about organizing in Louisiana and even specifically in the North Shore where you are. I just wonder if I don't know, wonder if you have any opinions on that, if there's anything different here than maybe somewhere else.
I think with everyone, if everyone would just come together, just everyone could
Yeah.
sit down and just talk. If we could just
Mhm.
sit down and talk. I understand everyone has their own organization or they have their own things to do or how they want to do it. But just a couple of hours out of the day, a few
Mhm.
hours out of the week, just to come together, bring all of our ideas together, all
Mhm.
of our ideas together. That's a benefit to the community,
Mhm.
not just a community, the communities, because
Yeah.
there's devastation in each one. And
Right.
here, I'm in Covington, is where
Mhm.
the garden is.
Mhm. Yeah.
Every other month, we have
Mhm.
bread giveaway 3, 4 times out of the week. We have, if someone needs say like a new mother needs supplies, let's say like um, playpens or something like that. We reach out there to organizations that help with that.
Yeah.
If they're in need of help with assistance with rent or groceries or something like that, yes, we do
Mhm.
have the food bank, um, but you have to sign up through the food bank. But we
Mhm.
just give it away. We just
Yeah.
give it away. And then, like with different projects, I include the community in because I want them to be part of their own communities. They pay their taxes
Mhm.
there. They live there.
Mhm.
What?
Mhm.
Why not include you in it? You know,
Yeah.
um, it's a lot that we can work on together versus
Mhm.
than doing it on our own because it takes longer to do it on your own, but it moves faster
Mhm.
when we're working together.
Yeah. It makes me think of what you were saying earlier about certain groups in survival mode and being
Hmm.
just that much more difficult, those people being in community. And I wonder if Louisiana, especially the South area where we're both in, is similar in the amount of disaster, like storm disaster that's faced there. I wonder if there's a similar issue there where so many people are suffering from that specifically, the storms and insurance rates and housing and everything that kind of goes into that.
Yeah.
I wonder if that also adds into making it more difficult for all of us to sit down with one another in a state like Louisiana, whereas maybe in other areas, I don't know, there could be things that are easier. Everywhere has their issues, but that is just interesting to me. Um,
Well, let me elaborate on the disaster.
yeah.
Even though there was help,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't reach everybody. Some people did not have the connection.
Mm-hmm.
So today, even from Katrina, are
Mm-hmm.
still dealing with putting their lives back together,
Yep.
homes back together. They're still living with tarp on their home.
Mm-hmm.
That some of them can't even afford insurance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's sad to see that as rich as our country is, that any of this would even be. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that it's going to be perfect everywhere, but we could do better.
Yeah, definitely.
We could definitely do
Mhm.
better with that
Yeah.
because the disaster relief, I think, when Katrina happened, it was that was horrible,
Mm-hmm.
and how long they waited to rescue people.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, when George Bush took a plane and flew over Louisiana,
Mm-hmm.
to me that was not acceptable.
Yeah.
Until you step
Yeah.
on these dunes and feel the heat that everyone felt, had to chop up trees to
Mm-hmm.
even burn on your grill in order for you to cook the food in your freezer before it went bad. And
Yeah.
I could say this, the community itself got together and everyone started taking all their food out and we started feeding each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that the government did not do for us.
Right.
We couldn't even get out of our own neighborhoods because the trees were down for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But you have enough money to move this stuff where it does not take this long for relief.
Yeah. Right.
And when it is, and then the gas prices went up. That was totally ridiculous. In a devastating storm, you're going to
Right.
raise the gas prices. Anything that's devastating with COVID and all of that, they raised prices.
Mm-hmm.
What sense does that make?
Right. Right.
How can you be an entity that is supposed to help the world,
Mm-hmm.
and you will turn around and look at your a child, a baby, and take the last crumb out of his mouth so that you could say that you had the last bite? I mean, that's how I feel
Yeah.
because I seen it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a change that needs to come in us as people. That's why I fight so hard for us to start standing up to these bullies to say, hey, we deserve help too. Because over
Yeah.
here in Louisiana, Lacombe floods like you wouldn't believe, and there's no relief.
Mm-hmm.
No relief. And I know that the city officials there are trying to work their way on trying to do something, but we're only a few people,
Yeah.
So that's a sore subject there with
I
me
know.
on the
Yeah. Definitely.
disaster relief, because I think they
Yeah.
could do better by Louisiana, Mississippi.
They. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. They can. Yeah, absolutely. Um, okay, I wanna ask you about, you said you have two new gardens, right, that are reopening. So are they both gonna be community, I guess, I don't know how you'd say it, owned or planned, or are they both gonna look like that? Where the community kind of decides what to plant and
Yeah, yeah, definitely, because you want to get the community involved. You want to
great.
get people
Yeah,
involved because that gives them more ownership to their own neighborhoods.
definitely.
Okay. So that they could say, I did this, and then pass it on.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's a way to introduce kids into agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
that those are careers,
Yeah,
you know.
definitely.
And
Uh-huh.
we're trying to get back, like, I don't know if they still have home ec in schools,
Mm-hmm.
but through the ministry, we can teach the kids how to prepare the vegetables they grow,
Mm-hmm.
and different dishes that they can make. And we have different
Mm-hmm.
people from the community that are either retired teachers, retired musicians, or people that just retired. They want to get out and do things. We even
Mm-hmm.
have our seniors come out to the garden and help the kids plant the food. It is beautiful.
Yeah, that
It is
sounds amazing.
beautiful. Yeah. And
Mhm.
that's what I'm trying to get in each community. I might not can
Mhm.
reach all of them, but where I go, at least it could be like a chain reaction. It's like, okay, do y'all heard
Definitely.
about, God's Unchanging Hands feeding ministry? Let's
Mhm.
give them a call and see if they could come over here and work or give us some tips on some things.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's very important because now we're connecting and we're
Mhm.
being neighbors.
Yes. Yeah, that's amazing. I wanted to ask, like, I guess to piggyback off of that, I'm just curious, for how do you get people involved? What is it, just people see what you're doing and they want to, or do you, reach out and then get people involved that way? How do you inspire people to want to help you and do what you're doing and engage with one another?
Same way I'm talking to you. I
Yeah,
get
just talking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get up
Yeah.
there and I do a lot of talking, but if nobody's listening, you have
Mhm.
to show it. So
Sure.
that's what I do. I showed it, and that it does work. And when they seen that it worked, now more and more people are coming, which is a beautiful thing. It took me a long time to convince people because, like I said, it has to be consistency. Because if you go
Mhm.
out there, create something, just anything,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
you're not consistent about it, how do you get people interested in you
Yeah.
not even being consistent yourself? So
Right.
you have to show yourself, show the things that you do, and that you're going to work at it because people are more into seeing than listening to you speak about it. And and I have to bring this up, Tori.
Mhm.
We talk too much.
I was
Okay,
just talking to someone else about this today. We talk too much. We talk so much.
talk too much instead of getting out here and really doing the work, making it show. We'd rather sit on our butts,
Mhm.
our heels up,
Mhm.
and say, oh, this is what we need to do.
Mhm.
Really? How does that work?
Yeah.
How does
Yeah.
that work? You can't sit down. Says faith without works is dead, right? So if you're not doing
Mhm.
anything, so how can you say it's living? I mean, I'm more of an outside type person. I love being outside. I love
Mhm,
being out talking to families. I love um feeding people. I I,
mhm,
I love it all. Out of
yeah,
all the jobs I've ever had in my life, this is the best I've ever had.
mhm, mhm,
This is the best I
yeah,
ever
that's
had.
amazing.
So I dedicated my life to making sure that the things that I went through, that no one else have to face it. And if they
Mhm,
do face it, we're going to help you get through it,
mhm,
because some people can't take a lot of stuff.
mhm,
Um, but we have to empower them. We have to encourage them. We have to let them know that you're valuable too, So
mhm,
it's not just about me. This is where I came from. I
yeah,
just want to show other people how to get out.
right. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. We definitely talk a lot. We talk a lot about, talk a lot. But I will say one thing I appreciate about you, um, is you're talking very intentionally and to inspire and to showcase what you're doing, which I think is so special. Um, yeah, I think that's great. So my last question for you before we kind of close out, I just want to ask, you're such a fighter and you're so engaged and intentional. How do you continue doing that even when things are hard, like the administration that we're under right now, for example? How do you continue to push through that?
Pray, pray,
Mhm.
pray,
Yeah.
pray some more, and pray
Right.
some more. I'm gonna tell you, without that, I would not have any strength. I'm gonna tell you right now, because I've been, like I said, before I had even started, I was already going through something, and it broke me down. It literally broke me down.
Mhm.
And that's another thing that I did want to point out, are the ones that are over our living habitat,
Mhm.
that uses their authority to manipulate you. And so you're fighting, and you're constantly fighting. And because people are more in a higher position than you are, they tend to
Mhm.
drag you through the mud. When I did learn how to pray about that and let it go, it made it
Mhm.
easier for me. So
Mhm.
now I can actually, you can come at me with the biggest problem. The first thing I'm going to say, let's pray,
Yeah.
because it's the only guidance that we have right now.
Sure.
We could depend on people all day long. We can.
Mhm.
Um, but what does that dependency consist of? Is
Mhm.
it something that's going to help you get out of a situation, or is it something that's going to keep you in a situation? I know when I pray, I don't have to worry about none of that. And
Mhm.
so God gives me the strength, and I have to talk about it. I have to be honest about it. I'm not going to give anybody credit that hasn't done what God has done for me, you know?
Sure.
And so
Mhm.
with that, I know a lot of people might not agree, but I'm telling you, you need a prayer life to get through this, because now you're handling things that's out of your, either your character or out of your means, you know.
Mhm.
Um, and I've learned along the way that I don't have to
Mhm.
suffer because someone else wants me to suffer.
Yeah.
I can actually keep moving and not think about what's happening to me.
Mhm.
Just keep moving.
Mhm.
And that's what we got to do with this administration. I understand, they're doing a lot to distract you,
Yep.
but that's entertainment. That's
Right.
entertainment. So
Right.
if we, like, if there's a movie that you don't want to watch, turn it off. That I'm talking about this
Right.
conversation. Turn it off, because now it's distracting you. And if you take those steps, I guarantee you it makes it a lot easier to focus on what you have to do.
Mhm.
Because we're mad. Yes, we are. A lot of us are mad.
Mhm.
But what is that mad going to get you? Where's it going to get you?
Mhm.
Nothing but ulcers, heart attack, stroke, high blood pressure. You know, it gets you
Yep.
there, you
Mhm.
know. So in order for us to not kill ourselves, let's stay focused on what we got to do
Yeah, I love
and how
that.
we're going to do it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. That's huge. Yeah, how? What are we gonna do and how are we gonna do it? I
Mm-hmm.
love that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much, Pamela, for being here today and sharing your incredible journey and talking about your work with me. It's clear that the work you're doing in your community is providing so much nourishment, but also just support to all the people that you're helping. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really empowering and uplifting for your community in ways that are going to have lasting impacts. So I'm truly inspired by everything you've shared today. I'm sure the audience will be as well. For me, Grass and Roots is all about learning from people like you. Like I said earlier, people who are taking action, making a real difference, and focusing on being in community with other people. I'm so grateful to have had this conversation with you. And to all of our listeners, I hope you feel inspired about to get involved in your own community like Pamela, and be a part of the change that you want to see. Before we wrap up, Pamela, is there anything else that you'd want to share? Any final thoughts?
Yes. We started, and I wanted to let people know, and maybe some people could take
Hmm.
ideas of this, but we
Hmm.
started community gospel concert, which some people are don't like to go to church or their church hurt
Hmm.
or things like that.
Yeah.
We've actually gotten together and started having those concerts, and you will not believe the outcome that
Yeah.
people are wanting to get a new way on how to think about, what's their next step in life. And it
Hmm.
brings so many people together. And that could go into any community. If y'all are thinking about how do you get your community to come together, that's one. You got to
Yeah.
start somewhere. Start somewhere. Start creating things that's positive in the community. Get your kids involved. Teach them how to,
Hmm.
get them into praise dance classes. Get them into, they don't even go to Bible study no more. Actually, uh, we do I mean, not Bible study, um, the vacation Bible school. We
Hmm.
need to get back doing that, which is help the kids come in. And I mean, it is great. They do plays. They do all kind of stuff. I do the little 5 and 6 year olds. So they have their little
Hmm.
concert. So they got their little pots and pans and dress up and stuff like that. It's really cute. But the
Yeah.
thing is, it's coming up with something where all of us can do something.
Hmm.
Don't just think of it as, um, oh, I'm going to do this and they're going to go by my rules. Let the
Right.
community build it. Let the community build it. You're still going to be there. You're over it because you're organizing it, but you
Hmm.
still have to be part of your community. So if there's
Yeah.
anything that you can get out of getting a community, working with your youth, working with our mothers, working with our fathers, working with our seniors, it's a big difference to them and they see it. It's great.
Yep.
It's great. It's great. It's great. Great.
I
Yes.
love that. I love that. Speaking of your events and everything, is there somewhere that people can look to see what you're doing? Do you want me maybe your website or social media? Is there anything that you use to share what's going on in your community if anyone is curious or wants to
Yes.
join?
You can follow me on Facebook. Um, my business page was stolen from Facebook. We haven't put a new one up there yet, but you can
Mm-hmm.
still pull it up and see the things that I do and I have done in the community from the beginning of when I first started. I used to walk through
Mm-hmm.
the neighborhoods just giving people for hot meals and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And uh, my website is unchangingministry.com. You can go
Okay.
on there too and go see a lot that we do in the community. Um, or just follow me on my regular page because I'm always doing something, talking about something,
Yeah.
and reaching people, giving them encouraging words every day. I do a thing where I put a scripture a day and a word for the day, and people respond to that. People want to be part of. They don't want to sit
Mm-hmm.
back and just think about what's going on in their life. Make them part of.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But yeah, my unchangingministry.com. And my Facebook page is Pamela McKay. Or you could find God's Unchanging Hands Feeding Ministry page, and it does have a lot of information there also.
Awesome. And I'll link all that stuff too so people can click on the link. Okay, great. Thank you, Pamela.
Thank you, Toree.